Full disclosure, turns out this is not the product for me and I won't be keeping it. But I do think there are certain people that would benefit from this device, so stay tuned if you want to find out if you might be one of them. This is No Spec Tech. We talk about specs, but they're not the point. Welcome back, I'm Neighbor Nerd, and today we're going to be discussing the NXTPAPER 11 Plus. Now, specs normally aren't the point, but today we're doing a comparison video of very similar devices, so specs are going to come up more than usual. I'm going to start by talking about the NXTPAPER 14 and what I like and don't like about it. If you don't care about that at all, go ahead and skip this chapter, but it should be a quick one. I love how big the NXTPAPER 14 is, and I love the multitasking that I can do on it. Just today, when I was taking notes for this video, I was wishing I had a smaller tablet so I could use my laptop and take notes on something a little bit smaller on the side. When I tried to do it with the NXTPAPER 14, I realized I can just put this in split screen mode and actually fold my laptop away. I pulled up the tablets that I'm reviewing on one side and my notes on the other and was easily able to do everything on one device. At the same time, its size has been the most challenging part of using this every day. It's going to be very similar to the 11 Gen 2 and the 11 Plus, just on a larger scale. With all of that said, it's just not easy to take out the NXTPAPER 14 in any and every situation like an 11-inch tablet. So moving on to the NXTPAPER 11 Plus. I'll get right into why it's not for me, and why it might not be for a lot of people. Even though a lot of the specs on paper might be better than the NXTPAPER 14 and the NXTPAPER 11 Gen 2, at least in the United States, the NXTPAPER 11 Plus doesn't come with the cover/stand that the NXTPAPER 14 and the NXTPAPER 11 Gen 2 come with. I purchased it knowing that, but I didn't realize how much of an issue it would become. One, part of the reason I think this is such a great deal is that it's an all-in-one device for such a great price. Without the case, you lose a lot of that functionality. I did buy a third-party case on Amazon, and it was one of the only ones available, but it just didn't look good. The way the case wrapped around the front of the display to keep it secure made it look like a kid's tablet, and it just didn't look or feel right. On top of that, I didn't realize that the TCL pen magnetically connects to the casing and not the device itself. So not only do I not get to use the NXTPAPER 11 Plus in all of the instances I'd be able to use the other tablets, but I don't get to physically connect my TCL pen. So the ease of propping it up to watch an episode of something or stream some YouTube, and the ease of always knowing that your TCL pen is connected to, and I can't seem to find anywhere to buy the cover, makes it too inconvenient and not really worth it for me in the end. Knowing all of the reasons I don't like it, some of the good things about it, let's start by talking about the key feature of this tablet. Its main selling feature is that it essentially has 3 displays in one. By hitting this fancy button up at the top, you can choose between 3 display modes. One of them, the ink paper mode, takes it to a black and white themed display, where everything looks almost like an e-ink reader with no color at all. This is the best for distraction-free e-reading. You can even use it to turn an article black and white if you want more of a newspapery feel. There is of course the standard display with all of the colors you're used to on a tablet, just with that matte finish, making everything look a little bit more old school in some ways but futuristic in others, and a lot nicer to write on and take notes because that matte finish gives a little bit of grit between the tip of the TCL pen and the screen itself. And of course, we have my favorite mode, color paper mode. This is a setting between the other two. It looks like an e-ink display, but the ones with colors, kind of like the Remarkable Paper Pro, but without the harsh refresh rate that e-ink has that's such a big turn-off to a lot of users. In this mode, you can use highlighters, pencils, pens, markers, and just kind of calm that extra colorful environment of a normal display, making it, in my opinion, more conducive to productivity, note-taking, and mental organization. It's a beautiful display, it just isn't viewable from every single angle like an iPad is going to be. The 11 Plus actually gets brighter than the 14 at 550 nits versus a maximum of 400 nits. In reality, the difference isn't enormously noticeable, but if you're using this outside and it's a really bright day, that gives the 11 Plus a slight edge. They also have very similar resolutions. The numbers are different, but ultimately they're both 2K displays, which is between the standard high definition 1080p that most people are familiar with and 4K ultra high definition. Editor Neighbor Nerd here. As always, I have to pop in from time to time. The color accuracy on these is just fine, but it's not as accurate as it's going to be on a higher end tablet. Nothing noticeable for everyday media consumption, but the blacks don't get as deep as they would on a glossy screen or an OLED display. This is why I specifically mention creative types. If the accuracy of color is important to your art or your editing or your graphics, that's when you're going to want to start looking elsewhere. Still, I think it's satisfactory, and I've edited thumbnails on this, and I can't complain, but color accuracy isn't as important to me. But someone who does, say, interior design, or does graphic design as a service for their business, might not want to use this for products they'll be delivering to a customer or client. My favorite thing about these is how capable they are for the price. I think it's incredibly similar to the iPad Pro's Nano Texture display. And of course, it's nowhere near as high quality, but the Nano Texture price point starts at like $1,200, $1,300 if you go a generation back. If you want the overall look and feel and you're not doing pro-level color grading work, I don't think you can beat the NXTPAPER devices when it comes to note-taking, e-reading, and media consumption all in a single device. I'm not the biggest fan of the Onyx black backing on the 11 Plus, but it's not unattractive. I just prefer the gray on the 14. The black is a little bit simpler than the more luxurious gray in my opinion. The 14 and the 11 Plus are each about 1/4 of an inch thick, and of course that 14-inch display is going to be a lot bigger than the 11-inch display. The 11-inch form factor on the 11 Plus, it's nice that it's actually 11.5 inches, so it's bigger than most 11-inch tablets, which is one of the reasons I actually went for that over the 11 Gen 2. But it's not going to be able to be your laptop. It's more of a supplementary device that you do tablet things on and use your laptop for laptop things. The 11 Plus is obviously awesome as an e-reader and as a note-taking application. I tend to think that the 14-inch is a better deal because I like it more as a laptop option if you're trying to get all of your devices into one for an amazing price. You will need a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard. I like to use these ones since the keyboard has a full numeric keypad and it's super compact. It folds away with the included travel case and it has the MacBook keys and Windows keys. So I can use this with whatever operating system I have with me. In my NXTPAPER 14 review, I mentioned how it's not the device you want to use to curl up on the couch and read a book at the end of the day. It's not meant for compact spaces, but the 11 Plus eliminates that issue by being the form factor you can use in all environments. I don't think it's as diverse in use cases, but it's definitely the simpler of the two when it comes to handheld mode. For single application use, I would 100% prefer to have an 11-inch tablet, but when it comes to multitasking, you really cannot beat the NXTPAPER 14. I talked about the writing a lot in my NXTPAPER 14 review, but I want to make sure anyone who hasn't seen that knows what to expect by watching this video. In general, the writing and drawing experience is great. It took a little bit of getting used to, but once I did, I was very happy with the overall experience, and I've remained happy with that overall experience, despite the tiny bit of latency on the 60 Hz compared to a 120 Hz. For the record, the iPad mini and the iPad Air are each 60 Hz. So if you're using those, I don't think there's going to be a detectable difference between that and the 60 Hz on the NXTPAPER 14 tablet. Apple is so great at building quality products, and they're priced as such. So overall, I think you're getting a better deal with the TCL NXTPAPER devices. The only time I haven't gotten used to latency is if you zoom in and use the TCL pen. I'm assuming that because it's bigger, you notice that dragging effect a little bit more, but I can't be certain. All I know is when you zoom in to write that way or draw that way, the latency is a little bit more obvious, but still unmatched at this price point. And I've never cared about 120 Hz refresh rate until I've used this device. Recognizing the difference between using the pen on a 60 Hz versus 120 Hz is an incredible difference. It's not really incredible, it's kind of minute, but noticeable when you go backwards. I didn't even notice that things were better on the 11 Plus until I started using my 14 later that day and thought there was increased latency for some reason. And then I realized, nope, I'm just getting used to 60 Hz again because it doesn't feel as instant, almost like the penmanship is just dragging a little bit behind, which felt normal until I used 120 Hz. Both the 14 and the 11 Plus have 256 gigs of storage, which should be more than enough for most non-creative types. Both the 14 and the 11 Plus are IP54 rated. What does IP54 protect against? Which protects from limited dust ingress and splashes of water from any direction. Basically, what I do know about that is that you don't want to take it to the beach where it'll be around sand and it can't be submerged in water, which is also at the beach. Anything like park, kitty litter, you don't want dust getting all over this thing because it's not sealed well enough to prevent against that. Dust has screwed me over more than water because you know to protect your devices from water, but you got to be careful around things like sand, dust, kitty litter. I don't know. I can't think of anything dusty right now, but don't do it, please. The batteries are different sizes. The 14 has a bigger one, but it also has a bigger screen. I've never really had any battery issues on my 14. It's always lasted me as much as I've needed it to, and I've gotten it to a charger before it ever hits like 20%, if it's ever gotten that low. The larger battery on the 14 takes 2 hours to fully charge, and the 11 Plus takes 1 hour 50 minutes to fully charge. So not a huge difference there either. The NXTPAPER 14 lists up to 8 hours of battery life. The 11 Plus lists up to 10. I think the 11 Plus probably needs that extra battery life because it's something that you'll use on the go a lot more often. But either of these will last you during a long day of travel or taking notes. Where you might notice the battery difference is if you're streaming high quality video for several hours at a time. In my NXTPAPER 14 video, I might have misspoken on security updates. I believe I said TCL will be supporting them until late 2027, but I've since found out that it'll be until February of 2028. So 3 years from the release date. I couldn't find the exact end of support date for the 11 Plus, but I have to believe it's going to be 3 years, which would take you to the end of June 2028. 3 years isn't bad for an Android tablet, but depending on when you watch this, that impacts the value you'll be getting out of this because these updates are very important for personal security. The longer you go without security updates, the more vulnerable you become. The 11 Plus also has a slightly more powerful processor, but I don't think it's going to be anything crazy noticeable to the vast majority of users. You would probably have to run benchmark tests to notice the difference. And that's where I kind of draw the line on this channel as No Spec Tech. I don't want to dive into benchmarks. I want to dive into user experience. And I didn't notice any differences while I was using the devices, but I don't think that these are the best tablets for artists and video editors. The color isn't exactly the best, and I don't know enough about the MediaTek chips to recommend them for anything like video editing or audio production. Unless it's short form edits on an application like CapCut or minor graphic designs on Canva, which I have done on this and has been an alright experience. I did a camera test on the NXTPAPER 14 in my review for that tablet. So here are some pictures from the 11 Plus. They're nothing fancy, and I don't think anybody really cares about tablet cameras, but here are some pictures with the back camera and the front camera. This is how the video and audio looks/sounds on the NXTPAPER 11 Plus. In reality, the look of the photos and the sound of the microphone are pretty close to identical, nothing detectable on my end, so I'm just going to throw this up here. If you really want to know what the 14 sounds like, you can check out the video that I'll link in the description, which is a full review of the NXTPAPER 14, and I'm sure I'll be using that one more in the future. But for now, this will give you an idea of what both or either of the tablets sound/look like. So I really tried to focus on the 11 Plus here because I've already done a couple of videos on the 14. I'll also be keeping the 14, so I know I can do videos on that in the future. But the 11 Plus is an awesome device, and I really do wish it came with the cover because I would be happy to keep it as my smaller option if it had that. So who do I think the 11 is for over the 14? If you're organized and good at keeping all of your stuff together, then maybe it doesn't matter that the TCL pen isn't connected to your device physically at all times. Knowing that I have that securely connected and my case closed over that, it's not going to fall out. So at any point, I can grab my 14, put it in my backpack, and know that the pen is there and that the screen is protected. If those things aren't important to you and you care more about perceived latency, which is that dragging sensation I was talking about with the pen, or if you want a brighter screen just in case you're reading on sunny days or in brighter environments, then the 11 Plus might be for you. But I do think that lack of a case is going to work against it for most consumers. As high quality as I think it feels, it's just uncomfortable to put it in a backpack with other things that might scratch or damage the display that makes this such an appealing device. If you're looking for something electronic or digital to take notes on at your desk and want something affordable to always be there when you need it, then this might work for you. Do I recommend it? I have to say no, I don't recommend the 11 Plus because that case just gives it so much functionality and takes it from an e-reader, which a real e-ink e-reader does better at, to a full-on tablet with a full-on tablet experience. I've seen the price fluctuate with the 11 Plus from $250 to $380, and even at that $250 price point, I think that going with the more affordable 11 Gen 2, I think it's a better option. So given the fact that the 14 is a more affordable price point, at least as of right now, and that the 11 Gen 2 is kind of always at a better price point, For the kind of things people are going to be doing on devices like these, I think that the 11 Gen 2 is the best deal for someone who wants an e-reader and note-taking device. The NXTPAPER 14 is the best option for anybody who's looking for a productivity and media consumption device with note-taking and e-reading capabilities. As always, I'll put links to all of the devices I've discussed in the description of this video. I can 100% with confidence recommend the 14. The pen also connects to these ones, like so. And when you close it, it's not going anywhere. It's not the strongest magnet in the world, but because it has these little divots here, it's secure on there if for some reason it does get loose, like that. So I recommend that you get one of these covers when you get the tablet, and with those two, it comes with it. I am picking a winner, and that winner is the NXTPAPER 14. I'm Neighbor Nerd. Thank you so much for visiting. I hope you gained something from this video and that you have a beautiful day.